Well, hello everybody. This is Carmelo Pinzoni. I'm going to do a video on changing a fraction into a decimal, and today is Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the basics of turning a fraction into a decimal and a decimal back into a fraction. So we're going to work on the elementary level, and then in another video, I'm going to do an intermediate level of dealing with repeating decimals in general. So this one's going to be the elementary changing of a fraction into a decimal and vice versa. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the paper and pencil version first, and then we're going to talk about using the calculator, the TI-30XS calculator that I use for my math classes here in Las Vegas. I have a calculator already up online ready to go, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So first of all here, let's go ahead and change a fraction into a decimal. So let's start off with something like this, 1 over 5. In order to change this into a decimal, you're going to divide the numerator by the denominator. The bottom number is going to be outside and the top number will be inside. And that's going to be like that for any time you're dealing with a fraction. The top number is inside and the bottom number is outside of the division bar. So in this case here, we're going to try to divide 5 into 1. It cannot happen, so what we're going to do is put a decimal point here behind the 1 and bring it up into the answer just like that. We're going to put a 0 here. And now we're going to treat this as 10. How many 5 safely into 10 without going over? Twice. And what's 2 times 5? 2 times 5 is 10. Take away, no remainder. So basically our objective is to continuously divide. Either we have a terminating decimal, or in some cases we may have a repeating decimal depending on what fraction you're dealing with. So at the end of the day on this one we got 0.2, and I like to put a 0 in the front here and call it as 0.2. So in this case here, 1/2, I should say 1/5, right? 1/5 is equal to 0.2. Later on I'm going to show you on the calculator how to get that equivalent very easily here. But sometimes you may have to do things on paper and pencil depending on what class you're taking or whatever you're doing out there. So again, 1/5 is equivalent to 0.2. Let's take a look at 1 over 8. So we're going to put the 8 outside, put the 1 inside. So again, 8 cannot go into 1, meaning that we have a decimal equivalent going on here. And that's going to be a fact with all fractions that are proper. A proper fraction means that the top number is less than the bottom number. The value is always less than 1. Let's put a 0 here. How many 8s into 10 safely? 1 time. 1 times 8 is 8. We're going to take away that. We're going to leave 2 in the remainder. So now what we're going to do is we're going to keep adding zeros until we have a terminating decimal or we have a repeating decimal. But in this case here, all of your 8ths are going to terminate. That's why 8ths are used a lot in the construction industry. I should say it's always used in anything relating to construction measurements, because 8ths always terminate as a decimal. So now we got the 0 brought down here. How many 8s into 20 safely? Twice. 2 times 8 is 16. Take away that. You're left with 4. Let's put another 0 here. And bring it on down to the 4. How many 8s into 40 safely without going over? Exactly 5 times. And at the end here, 5 times 8 is 40. Remainder of 0. So we have an equivalent decimal of 0.125. I like to put the 0 there for show. So 1/8 is equivalent to 0.125. And this is why the construction industry uses eighths for their measurements. If you look at a tape measure, all of the increments are either 1/4, 1/8, or 1/16 or 16ths. Because when you convert these to decimals for different inventory and summations, it all has a decimal that terminates. And this way you'll have your exact figures for inventory control, lumber, whatever it is out there. But nonetheless, this is the basics of how to turn a fraction into a decimal. Okay, let's go to the calculator. Now that I've shown you the fruits and vegetables here, now we can go on to the dessert, and let's take a look at the calculator to see how we're going to do this. So for my GED classes out in Las Vegas, I use the TI-30XS calculator, in which these are calculators that are used for different tests out here in Las Vegas. And it could be, these calculators could be used at any test where you're testing it in any state. All right, so first of all, this is the TI-30XS calculator. I did find a nice calculator online here so I can display to my class. So what we're going to do first is, and this is what you want to do with your desktops, meaning this. Go to the mode, and I like to have this on DEG. It's right now, if you look at all this, the calculator is defaulted to these highlighted parameters. And I don't teach it in these highlighted parameters. I teach everything in classic and in DEG, which is short for degrees. But we're not going to have to worry about degrees, but I'm going to set it to degrees. So this way we don't have any trouble with this RAD or GRAD. So in order to do that, so wherever the cursor is blinking, I'm going to use this keypad in order to move that cursor around. I want it on degrees, and we're going to hit enter. So you see that how degree is nice and dark? That's what we want. This is the most important one that I teach in my classes. I teach everything in classic mode on a calculator. This is on math print. I'm not a fan of math print. Maybe some of you are, but I don't teach anything in math print because it doesn't give me the results that I need to teach my classes with. So we're going to go down here to classic. We're going to scroll down, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to hit enter. So you see everything on this calculator now is formatted for these parameters that I set. You can do this once on your handhelds, and you don't have to ever change it again unless you change the battery. Then the settings will get changed. All right, we're all set here on classic mode. We're ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a fraction and turn it into a decimal. Remember that 1/5 that we were working on earlier? And I'm going to show you how to put a fraction into the calculator. We're going to use this key right here, this N over D key. We're going to put in 1/5 into the calculator. So we're going to do 1 for the numerator, and we're going to type in ND. That indicates I want a fraction. Then we're going to input the denominator, and we have that, 1/5. Okay. Now, in order to change this into a decimal, we're going to use this little button over here above the enter. It looks like a left-right arrow toggle switch. We're going to press that once and see what happens. So you have that there. You pressed it once. Now we're going to press enter again, and it gives you the decimal. Back in my day of school, we did it like this. 1 divided by 5 will give you the same decimal. So either you want to do it as a fraction or do 1 divided by 5, you get 0.2 either way. One over 8, 1, ND, 8. So you have the fraction. I want it as a decimal, quick. And there's that 0.125 that we determined earlier. So every fraction has what they call an equivalent decimal tied to it. And it doesn't matter the fraction. 3, ND4, That's a popular fraction. 3/4 is 0.75, right? So let's do that, switch it. And there's your decimal equivalent. 3 divided by 4. It's always the top number divided by the bottom number, forever and ever, just like that. Five and the 8. So you can put in any fraction you like and get a decimal out of it. Sometimes there are math problems where they have it in a fraction in a word problem, and then they want you to come up with an equivalent answer in the multiple choice, and all the answers in the multiple choice are in decimal format. So this is how you do this here. Fraction has an equivalent decimal. So for this case here, I got up on the board here, I can say 5/8 of the people voted in an election. I can also say equivalently 0.625 people voted in an election. 5/8 is the same thing as 0.625. The same thing with 1/2. 1 ND2, that's a very popular fraction. That's 1/2, right? 0.5. 1/2 of my students attended class today. 0.5 of the students attended my class today. Now, the good news about the calculator, you can also go backwards. 0.5, if I need the fraction back, here's your equivalent. Here's your switch. It gives you back the fraction. I'm going to show you how to do this on paper and pencil in case if you wanted to know the secret how that's done on paper and pencil. So let's go ahead and do how to turn a decimal back into a fraction. Let's go do that. All right. And if you like what's going on in my videos, please subscribe to my channel. I have more math videos in the future. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change a decimal back into a fraction. And I will also include this. Well, not a germinating, I need a terminating decimal. There we go. That's more like it. Because we have to take a look at decimals that are repeating, and I'm going to do that in my next video. That'll be for more intermediate learners and knowledge here. This is for my basic students who need to get their GEDs and what you need to do, how to change from one form to another. Okay, so let's say terminating decimal, meaning that the decimal will end. Let's go back to that 0.5 and let's see how we're going to get 1/2 out of this. If it's a terminating decimal, put it over 1. Now we want a whole number upstairs. And how we're going to do that, we're going to move the decimal point as many places to the right until we have a fully whole number upstairs. So we're going to move that over here, and I like to do that showing me that I have a whole number sitting here. And downstairs, all your whole numbers have a decimal behind it. So we're going to put that decimal there, and this is move one place. And we're going to also move this one place to the right too. If you move one place upstairs, you got to move one place downstairs to keep the number intact and correct. Now here, a gap forms. You're going to put a 0 in there. So at the end of lunch, as I call it, here we have 5/10. So that's the fraction equivalent of 0.5. And the last thing I have to do is turn this into lowest terms. The division number is division up to the smallest number you see here. I can use the 5. Whatever you divide the top by, you got to divide the bottom by. You can't switch. And there's your 1/2. So this is how you change a decimal into a fraction, paper and pencil. Let's take a look at another one. Let's say you got 0.25 to terminating decimal. Again, we're going to put it over 1. We need a whole number upstairs. So again, put the decimal point here and behind the 1. So now we're going to move 2 places, right, to make that a whole number. So we're going to move 2 places. If I move 2 places up here, then I got to move 2 places downstairs. 1, 2. And then you're going to fill 2 zeros in the gaps. So now you have a fraction equivalent. That's 25 over 100. Reduce the lowest terms. I can use 25 as the division number. 100 divided by 25, 4. So there's your 1/4. 0.25 is 1/4. And also, if I were to put it into the calculator, 0.25, and hit that little change button there, enter, it'll give you the fraction. Pretty cool, pretty neat. Uh, 0.6, we'll do one more. 0.6, put it over 1. Whole number, we're going to move this 1 place. Start the point behind the 1, move that 1 place. Put a 0 in here. 6 over 10 is the final fraction. You're going to use divide by, let's see here. Again, for my classes, what I tell them, be careful with 6s. Sometimes you divide by 2, sometimes you divide by 3, depending on what's in the denominator. So make sure you know what you're dividing by and what you're getting out of the deal. 6 divided by 2 is 3, 10 divided by the same 2 is 5. So 3/5. 3/5 is 0.6. In a sentence, I can say 3/5 of the students were absent from math class today. 0.6 students were also absent from my same class today. They are equivalent, they are the same. And you can use these 2 features in order to come up with a final calculation if you're given a total amount of students and a fractional amount was absent and so forth. And let's do one more. 3 decimal places, 0.625. That's an interesting one. How are we going to get a fraction out of that? Well, then put the whole thing over 1. We're going to move 3 places. So if you move 3 places here, then you got to move 3 places in the denominator. So 1, 2, 3. Start the point always behind. 1, 2, 3. So you got 625 over 1,000. Now, if you have the calculator, this makes it easy because I can put this fraction into the calculator, hit enter, and it's going to come out in lowest terms for you. So that's pretty cool about the TI-30XS calculator, which I use in all my classes. However, let's say this was 30 years ago, we didn't have calculators like this. So what I had to do was this. I know 25 will work because 25 will divide anything where the last 2 digits end in 25. Something I learned back in the day. So I can do this. 625 divided by 25 equals 25. And 1,000 divided by 25, I believe is 40. Let's see, 1,000 divided by 25, I believe is 40. Yeah, it is 40. Okay, so see how you break down these fractions to something that's closer to lowest terms? Today it's easier. I just want to show you how we had to do this stuff back in the day, and maybe you don't have this particular type of calculator in your class or whatnot. This is how you would do it. We're getting close here. I can use 5 for the final division. Top and bottom got to be the same. 5 over 8. And there you go. There's your final answer for 0.625. 5/8 of the students had lunch today. 0.625 of the students had lunch today. So I can use both of these numbers in order to calculate how many students had lunch if I'm given a total amount of students. That's it. All right, let me go back to the calculator and show you. You can put any fraction you want in that calculator, and every time you hit enter, it's going to put out lowest terms for you. So that's the beauty of that calculator. Practice on it. Go back and share the calculator. And that didn't work that time. Okay. Share this one. There we go. Remember 625 over 1,000? 625 ND 1,000. If you hit enter, it's going to give you a fraction in lowest terms if it's possible. 8 ND 16. 0.5. I did the toggle. That's why it gave me the decimal. Okay, that's fine. Enter. All right, let's clear that there. So 8 ND 16. You just got to press enter. Don't press the switcheroo. Press enter. It gives you the half right out of the gate. So again, practice on your calculators. Make sure you know the steps what you got to do in order to solve your questions on your tests. And while we're here, we can go through some of the fractions as a decimal. 1 and the 12th. Let's see what this turns out to be. 0.083333. So again, if you're working with fractions that are real small, meaning that the numerator is very small in comparison to the denominator, and you got to do conversions, you got to watch these zeros that do turn up every so often in the 10th place and in the 100th place, etc. As the numerator gets further away from the denominator, the decimal value gets smaller. Keep doing that there. There we go. 0.0285, whatever it is. 1 ND 150. So you can see that here. Now there's 2 zeros. So you got the 10th place and the 100th place with zeros there. So you want to be careful whenever you are converting fractions that are very small in value, that you're putting up the right decimal place in your other calculations or report writing that you do. Here's a way to remember. 24 ND 25. This decimal is most nearly 1. It's very close to 1. See, 24 over 25 is going to be 0.9 something. So these are the things you want to remember when doing this kind of work, 0.96. When the numerator is relatively far from the denominator, then I know the decimal is going to be very small. It's going to be close to 0. This might be 0.2 or 0.1. 0.04 was even smaller than that. So there you have it. There's some of the basics of fractions as decimal, a little bit of action on a TI-30 XS calculator. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're going to have another video on more intermediate studies and different fractions that we're going to going to have out there with different decimals. I've had questions asked from different students in different classes that they're taking. So if you like what's going on here, please subscribe to my channel. We'll have more videos down the road. Otherwise, have a good day. And please remark and comment in the section if you like what's going on. All right, have a good day there. Bye-bye.